At Thanksgiving, my sister shoved my 11-year-old daughter down the stairs. Then she started recording and laughing while my daughter cried. My mom watched and said, "Stop being dramatic." So I did this and spent 240 days in jail. All right, Reddit, I'm going to cut right to it. I just finished an 8-month sentence in Harris County Jail after getting arrested for assault against my own sister. And before you start judging, let me walk you through what happened. Because if you had a child and saw what I saw, you'd probably be reading this from a cell, too. I'm Effie M. Cadleck, 41, female. Used to run operations for a commercial HVAC company outside Houston. Regular woman with a regular life. Paid my bills, coached Little League on weekends, never even got a parking ticket. Typical boring existence and all. Then Thanksgiving 2023 rolled around and my whole world went sideways. But you need the full picture to understand why I did what I did. It's a bit complicated, so strap in and focus with me. 15 years ago, I married Kelly. A year and a half later, our daughter Na came along. For about 10 years, things were solid. Not perfect, but solid. Then 2022 hit, and Kelly and I had to admit we were done. We'd become different people who wanted different things. Tried therapy, tried date nights, tried all that nonsense they tell you fixes marriages. Nothing stuck. After 12 years together, we pulled the plug like adults. The divorce was clean. No screaming matches, no lawyers bleeding us dry. Kelly got primary custody of Nana, who was 9 at the time. I got her every other weekend and 2 weeknights. Kelly only lived 15 minutes away, so I saw Nana whenever I wanted. Kelly never played games with custody. She kept our divorce about us, not about Nina. Even pushed me to bring Nina to my family stuff, which brings me to my family. My parents, Gary and Brenda, are controlling boomers who think they're running some kind of empire. Dad's a retired insurance exec who still acts like he's closing deals. Mom's the type who smiles while slipping passive-aggressive comments into every conversation. Then there's my sister Savannah, 3 years younger, married to finance bro Evan. One kid named Caleb who's 6. When we were kids, we were tight, but somewhere in our 20s, she changed. Savannah's always been the golden child, though. I could cure cancer, and she'd still be their favorite. What really drove the wedge was money. In 2022, Savannah wanted to buy this massive house way outside her budget. She kept calling, asking Kelly and me to co-sign a $650,000 mortgage because she and Evan couldn't qualify a loan. We looked into it. The house was overpriced. Savannah's finances were a mess, and Evan had tanked his credit. And honestly, why would we? We don't owe them. So we said no. Explained that if they defaulted, we'd be on the hook for over $500,000. Savannah didn't take it well. Acted like I'd betrayed her. From that point on, things were ice cold. She'd make digs at gatherings about how I abandoned family. I figured she'd get over it. She didn't. We'll come to that. The one person in my family worth a darn is my cousin Nate, my mom's nephew. He's a defense attorney, actually has a spine, and he's the only one who ever called out my parents' nonsense. Over the years, Nate became the guy I'd go to for advice. Straight shooter who'd tell you the truth even when it hurt. There's also my buddy Hunter from work. We've been friends since I started at the HVAC company 8 years ago. Former Marine, the kind of guy who'd help you move a body without asking questions. He'd met my family a few times and already thought Savannah was a piece of work. So that's the setup. Divorced mom with shared custody, toxic family with a grudge-holding sister, all the ingredients for a complete mess, and brings us to the disaster at Thanksgiving 2023. That day, I picked up Nana from Kelly's place around 3 p.m. Na was excited about seeing her grandparents and cousin Caleb. She had on this blue sweater Kelly bought her, and her hair was braided. The kid looked happy. We got to my parents' place in the suburbs around 4:30. Big house, maybe 30 people there, family, neighbors, my dad's golf buddies. Nate was there, which made me feel better. Savannah showed up with Evan and Caleb about 20 minutes after us. Evan gave me this weak handshake and fake smile. Savannah barely acknowledged me. Caleb ran off to play video games with the other kids. Everything seemed normal. Tense, sure, but still normal for my family. The party started like every other Thanksgiving. Dad held court at the head of the table, telling the same stories about his glory days. Mom fussed over everyone, making sure plates were full. The neighbors made polite small talk. Nate and I found a corner and started talking. Na hung out with the kids for a while, then eventually just sat on the couch watching YouTube. Around 6:30, she got up and headed toward the stairs. I figured she was going to the bathroom. Someone was using the downstairs one. I didn't worry about it. Why would I? I was explaining to Nate why the Texans needed to fire everyone from the owner on down when I heard it. This loud crash that cut through all the noise and conversation, the kind of sound that makes your stomach drop before you process what happened. Everyone stopped. Then we all turned toward the staircase. Na was at the bottom, crumpled on the hardwood floor. Her face was scrunched up in pain and her eyes were scanning the room looking for me. About halfway up the stairs stood Savannah, and here's what stuck with me. For maybe 2 seconds before she shifted into concern mode, I caught a glimpse of something else on her face. Satisfaction. Then Savannah sprang into action. She rushed down the stairs, knelt next to Na, and started this whole performance. "Oh my God, Na, are you okay? I told you not to run down the stairs. Why didn't you listen?" And that's when people started laughing. Freaking laughing, like this was funny. Dad's golf buddy raised his drink and made a joke about kids thinking they're invincible. Mrs. Collins from next door shook her head, talking about how kids don't listen these days. Nobody took it seriously except me and Nate. I was already running, knocked my chair back hard, and got to Na in a few seconds. She'd managed to sit up, but she was holding her left wrist and trying not to cry. The tears were falling, but she was trying to be tough in front of everyone. When I knelt beside her, she looked at me with this expression that made my blood run cold. Then she leaned close and whispered in my ear, voice shaking, "Mom, Aunt Savannah pushed me." Everything went quiet in my head. I looked back at the stairs. Savannah was standing there with her fake, worried face. And suddenly everything clicked into place. The weird look I'd caught, how fast she'd come down, the immediate lie about Na running. The rage that hit me was, well, it wasn't good. I stood up slowly, looked directly at Savannah, and my voice came out loud. "Why the heck did you push my daughter down the stairs?" You could hear a pin drop. All eyes swung between me and Savannah. Savannah's fake concern morphed into defensive anger so fast it would have been impressive if I wasn't so angry. "What? What the heck are you talking about? Na fell by herself. I didn't do anything." She threw her hands up, playing victim, looking around the room for support. Evan stepped up behind her, puffing his chest out like a rooster. My parents were already making their way over, concern on their faces. But not for Nana, for the scene I was making. "Don't try that. My daughter just told me you pushed her, so I'll ask again. Why?" Her face went red. "You two are making this up to make me look bad. I would never hurt Na." Around us, people started taking sides. Most sided with Savannah, of course. Perfect. Savannah, who volunteered at church, couldn't hurt an aunt. Nate was already on his feet, phone out, moving closer. He was documenting the whole thing. The argument escalated, voices getting louder. Na still sitting at the bottom of the stairs while they ignored her. Caleb started crying. Complete chaos. Then my dad's voice boomed across the room. "Everyone shut up!" We all froze. Dad was standing at the head of the table, face red. Mom walked over to Nana. "Nana, sweetie, tell Grandma exactly what happened." Na wiped her eyes and sat up straighter. I went upstairs to use the bathroom. When I came out, Aunt Savannah was in the hallway. I started walking down first. She was behind me. When I was about halfway down, I felt hands push me really hard in my back. Savannah jumped in immediately. "That's a lie. She fell because she was going too fast. Now she's making up stories." Mom hesitated. "Nina, honey, are you sure? Sometimes when we fall, it feels like someone pushed us." My blood pressure spiked. "Mom, stop. Na knows what happened. Why the heck would she lie?" Na looked at Mom with more confidence. "Aunt Savannah pushed me." Mom stood up, her face cold. "Nana, you're making a big fuss over nothing. You're being dramatic." I snapped. I got in Mom's face. "What the heck did you just say?" I snapped. I got in Mom's face. "What the heck did you just say?" Mom didn't back down. "It's just falling down some stairs. You coddle that girl too much, Effie." That's when Savannah pulled out her phone and started recording for Instagram. "Hey guys, look at my niece. She fell down the stairs being careless and now she's trying to blame me. Can you believe this?" She was humiliating my daughter while she sat there hurt. I crossed the distance in 2 steps, grabbed the phone, and stopped the recording. What the heck are you doing? Give my phone back. Shut the hell up, I shouted. Evan tried to grab it back, but I held it away. The room erupted. People yelling, my parents trying to calm things down, Savannah screaming about her phone. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Everyone stopped and stared. I'm calling the cops. Mom rushed over, trying to grab my phone. Stop it. Do you want the neighborhood gossiping about us? This is a family matter. The neighbors are already here, Mom. Savannah crossed her arms with this smug smile. Go ahead. When they get here and prove your brat is lying, we'll see who's in trouble. I ignored them and waited for the operator to pick up. But before anyone answered, Dad snatched the phone from my hand and ended the call. I stared at him in disbelief. What the heck? Dad looked at me coldly, completely calm, and said, I don't want the police here. And even if Savannah did push her, it was an accident. Don't call the cops on your own sister over a freaking accident. The words hung in the air. I looked around the room at all these people I'd known my whole life. Family, friends, people who'd watched Na grow up. And not one person cared that she was sitting there in pain, assaulted, and called a liar. They'd all chosen Savannah, and that was a mistake because I wasn't going to let them do this to my kid. The room stayed frozen. Then Nate stepped forward from where he'd been standing quietly off to the side. Everyone's eyes shifted to him as he walked into the center, phone held up. Savannah pushed Na. I recorded the whole thing. You could have powered the entire city of Houston with the shock that went through that room. Mouths dropped. Savannah went pale. My parents looked like they'd been slapped. Nate stood there calm. He tapped his phone a few times. I'm sending it to the family group chat right now. Everyone can see it. Evan found his voice first, though it cracked. Nonsense, there's no video. I grabbed my phone back from Dad's grip. I opened the group chat. There it was. I hit play. The video showed the party from Nate's angle near the dining room. You could see the staircase clearly in the background. The quality was decent. Nate had a new iPhone. There was Nina walking carefully down the stairs. Right behind her was Savannah. And just like Nina said, when she was about halfway down, Savannah reached out with both hands and shoved her hard in the back. You could see Na's body jerk forward, her arms flailing, before she tumbled down the rest of the stairs. The video ended. Nobody spoke. Then Nate broke the silence. I've been filming family gatherings for my mom since she can't travel anymore. She watches the videos later. I caught everything. My parents stood there looking shell-shocked. Dad's mouth was opening and closing, but nothing came out. Mom had her hand over her chest. Savannah's confidence evaporated. She looked like a cornered animal, eyes darting around for an escape. Evan stared at his wife like he was seeing a stranger. As for me, I did something I definitely don't regret. I looked at her, this person who'd pushed my daughter, then lied, then mocked her on video, then accused her of lying. I didn't say anything, just started walking toward her. She saw me coming and backed up. Effie, wait! I didn't wait. I grabbed her by the throat, not choking, just controlling, and started dragging her toward the stairs. She fought, clawing at my arm. The room erupted into screaming. Effie, stop! Someone stop her! What are you doing? My parents rushed forward. Mom was crying. Dad was yelling. Evan tried to grab me, but I shoved him back hard enough. He stumbled into the coffee table. Nate was shouting something about consequences. Caleb was screaming for his mom. I blocked all of it out. I dragged her up the stairs. She was screaming now, genuinely terrified, begging everyone to help. People were following us up, but I was faster, running on pure rage. When I reached the middle of the staircase, I let go of her throat and stepped behind her. Then I kicked her hard, right between her shoulder blades. She didn't just fall. She flew, landed past the spot where Na had landed, and crashed into the crowd below. The sound she made will stay with me forever. I walked down the stairs calmly while chaos erupted. Savannah was on the floor groaning. Evan was checking her over. People were screaming and crying and yelling at me. Mom was sobbing. Dad was shouting and cursing. Nate looked at me with this sad expression. Hunter, who'd been standing in the back the whole time watching everything unfold, caught my eye and gave me a small nod, like he understood. I walked through the crowd like they weren't there, pulled out my phone, and dialed 911 again. This time, nobody tried to stop me. When the operator answered, I said in this calm voice, I need police and paramedics. I just assaulted my sister as retaliation for what she did to my daughter. Here's the address. I gave them the information, hung up, and stood by the door, waiting. The party was over. 15 minutes later, the street lit up with red and blue lights. 3 cop cars and an ambulance parked outside my parents' house. When the officers walked in, Savannah was on the floor with Evan hovering over her, my shell-shocked parents, and me standing by the door like I was waiting for an Uber. The lead officer took one look and knew it'd be a long night. They separated everyone at the precinct. Me, Nina, my parents, Savannah and Evan, Nate, Hunter, all in different rooms. It was past midnight and the whole place had this exhausted end-of-shift energy. CPS routed Na to the Children's Advocacy Center for a forensic interview. Kelly met them at the hospital. Then CPS coordinated the CAC interview the same night. Standard drill, trained interviewer, one-way glass, clean audio. That was its own kind of torture, knowing my kid was scared and hurt, and I couldn't be there. But they assured me Kelly was being called, which gave me some relief. At least Nina wouldn't be alone. They put me in an interrogation room. Small gray metal table, uncomfortable chairs, the works. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes before Detective Adrian came in. He sat down a case file, turned on the recorder, and sat across from me. Ms. Cadleck, walk me through what happened tonight. So I did. Told him everything. Just laid out the facts. He took notes, occasionally nodding. When I finished, he looked up. Any history of violence? Prior record? No. This is the first time. He studied me. You understand what you did is assault? Yes. Do you regret it? I looked him straight in the eye. No. Something shifted in his expression. He finished the questions, turned off the recorder, leaned forward, and said quietly, I have a daughter. I get it. He stood up and walked out, left me sitting there, processing everything. Turns out, while I was being questioned, Savannah was at the hospital getting checked. Severe bruising on her back and spine, minor spinal trauma, but nothing life-threatening. She'd recover. Meanwhile, Na's injuries were minor. Bruised wrist, scraped knees, nothing broken. They booked me that night. I saw the magistrate. Bond set at $20,000. Nate called a bondsman, and I was out by 3 on no contact and travel conditions. I walked out to find my parents standing by their car. They looked at me like they wanted to say something, then just got in and drove away without a word. Nate was waiting by his car. He looked exhausted and conflicted. You need a ride? He asked. No, I need to get to the hospital. See Nina? He nodded, didn't argue, and left. Hunter was leaning against his truck smoking a cigarette. When he saw me, he flicked it away and walked over. You good? He asked. No. Want company at the hospital? I nodded. When we got to Houston Methodist and found Na's room, I could see Kelly through the door. She was sitting on the bed, holding our daughter, stroking her hair. I stood there watching them for a moment. Even though Kelly and I didn't work as a couple, she was a darn good mother. I was grateful she'd gotten there so fast. When I walked in, Na's face lit up. I kissed her forehead. How are you doing, kiddo? My wrist hurts, but I'm okay. Kelly stood up and motioned for me to step into the hallway. Hunter stayed with Nana. When Kelly and I were alone, she looked at me seriously. Thank you for protecting her. Na told me everything. She trailed off, shaking her head in disgust. I saw the video Nate sent. I'm not saying what you did was right, but I understand why. I looked Kelly in the eye. Nobody touches our daughter. I know, she said quietly, then added, I was terrified when CPS called, but when Nana told me what you did, she paused. You showed her that her mother will protect her no matter what. That matters. Standing in that hospital hallway at 4:30 in the morning, Kelly and I found a new understanding. We weren't a couple anymore, but we were parents, both protecting our kid. Kelly went back in with Nana while Hunter and I found a vending machine. We got coffee and sat in the waiting room, not saying much. Hunter understood I didn't need conversation, just company. After a while, he said, Your family is a piece of work, as if that's some news to you. He smiled. The DA filed aggravated assault at first. A grand jury indicted in January 2024. We had discovery and settings through spring. In June 2024, I pled down to assault causing bodily injury, 240 days in county, and $8,000 restitution. Clean record before this helped. I took it. Harris County Criminal Court looked exactly like you'd expect on trial day. Imposing, cold, designed to make you feel small. I showed up in my only suit. Kelly sat behind me. We'd agreed Na shouldn't be there. Savannah and Evan sat on the opposite side, far from me. My parents were in some neutral zone, still trying to figure out which kid to support. Nate sat in the back row, his lawyer instincts analyzing every procedural move. Hunter took the day off work to be there. Didn't say much, just showed up. That's the kind of friend he was. When they brought Savannah to the witness stand, she looked rough. After the swearing in, Savannah's lawyer tried to build sympathy with softball questions, but the prosecutor cut through the nonsense fast. And that's when Savannah said something that made the courtroom gasp. I did it to get revenge on her ex-wife. What the heck? I turned to look at Kelly. She looked as confused as I felt. Savannah and Kelly barely knew each other. They'd interacted maybe a dozen times during our marriage, always polite and distant. Judge Lopez leaned forward. Explain that statement, Miss Carson. Savannah's voice was flat, emotionless, like she'd rehearsed this and lost all feeling behind the words. In 2022, I wanted to buy a house, a really nice house that Evan and I couldn't qualify for on our own. I asked Effie and Kelly to co-sign a $650,000 mortgage. Kelly said no. She told me it was too risky, that they couldn't take on that liability. I've hated her ever since. Still do. The courtroom buzzed. The judge banged her gavel. Kelly's hand gripped the bench in front of her, knuckles white. I remembered that conversation. Savannah had been obsessed with that massive house. Kelly had researched it and realized Savannah's financial situation was a disaster waiting to happen. One missed payment, and we'd be on the hook for over $500,000. We were saved from financial ruin by saying no. And Savannah had nursed that grudge for over a year before taking it out on an innocent kid. Judge Lopez looked at Savannah with barely concealed disgust. Miss Carson, you injured a child to punish an adult. That's why you're going to prison. The trial moved fast after that. With video evidence and Savannah's confession of motive, there wasn't much to debate. Nate had made sure the video was authenticated properly. Savannah pled to injury to a child. Judge Lopez gave her 3 years in TDCJ and a 5-year protective order, keeping her 300 feet from Na and Kelly. The order covered everything. No calls, no texts, no social media, and no third-party contact. It even included staying away from Na's school and activities. Within 2 weeks of sentencing, Evan filed for divorce and emergency custody modification. His attorney cited Savannah's felony conviction, the restraining order, and her demonstrated threat to child safety. The family court awarded Evan primary physical custody, with Savannah receiving 0 parenting time, pending completion of her sentence and a future fitness evaluation. At least the guy had finally grown a spine. My turn came next. Despite everything, the provocation, protecting my child, my clean record, I still had to face the consequences of what I'd done. Sentence: 240 days in Harris County Jail, Class A misdemeanor plea to assault causing bodily injury, and $8,000 restitution. When the judge read my sentence, I felt nothing. No relief, no anger, no regret. I just accepted it. 8 months for making sure my daughter knew her mother wouldn't let anyone hurt her without consequences. Definitely worth it. Harris County Jail isn't a movie, but it isn't a resort either. I did 240 days county time on the misdemeanor plea. The first few days were the hardest, adjusting to the noise, the routine, the complete loss of privacy and freedom. I shared a cell with a woman named Big Joe, in for her 3rd DUI. When I told her why I was there, she just nodded and said, "Girl, I got 2 sons. I'd have done worse." Most women in there understood. Word spread about why I was locked up, and I got respect. Even the guards treated me decently. Life inside developed a rhythm. Wake up at 5:30 to metal doors clanging. Breakfast in a crowded cafeteria that smelled like industrial cleaner and bad eggs. Work detail in the kitchen for a few hours. Mindless work that let me zone out. Lunch, more work, or yard time if weather permitted. Dinner, then evening in the cell. The hardest part wasn't the routine or lack of freedom. It was missing Na, missing the little things, helping with homework, making pancakes on Sunday mornings. I'd taken for granted how much of my life revolved around being her mom. But every single week, Kelly brought Na to visit. Rain, shine, heat, they never missed once. Not when Kelly had the flu, not when Na had a school event, not when it would have been easier to skip. They still showed up. The first visit was rough. Na tried to be strong, but I could see it in her eyes. She was scared and sad, and I felt like the worst mother in the world for putting her through this. But she held my hand through the glass partition and said, "Mom, thank you for protecting me." My sweet kid. Over the weeks, visits got easier. Na would update me on school, her friends, some boy she thought was cute, normal preteen stuff. Kelly would give me updates about therapy. Apparently, Nina was working through everything with a counselor and doing well. They both seemed okay, which was all I could ask for. Hunter visited every other week, brought news from work, sports updates, made sure I knew my job was waiting when I got out. Steve, our boss, had apparently told the whole office I was taking extended leave for family reasons, and anyone who had a problem with it could find another job. Good people exist. Nate visited once a month, always brought legal updates, news about the family. He'd made his disappointment clear at the trial, but never abandoned me. That's what real family does. Disagrees with you, but doesn't disappear. My parents sent one letter about 6 weeks in, a half-hearted apology filled with, "We didn't understand. We were shocked. We love you both." I read it once and never responded. Some things can't be fixed with a letter. Savannah was in a women's facility on the other side of Houston serving her sentence. I didn't think about her much. Didn't waste energy on anger anymore. She'd made her choices and was living with them, same as me. The women I was locked up with became something like friends. Big Joe taught me poker. I taught a younger woman named Carla how to write better cover letters for when she got out. There was a strange sisterhood in there, a bunch of women who'd screwed up in various ways, just trying to survive. At night, lying on my bunk, listening to the echoes of voices and the hum of the lights, I'd think about that Thanksgiving. The look on Na's face when she fell, the moment Savannah smirked, and then the feeling of my boot connecting with her back, the satisfaction of it. I never felt guilty. The months crawled by. Summer turned to fall. I missed Na's 12th birthday, which killed me. Kelly sent photos of the party, Na smiling with friends, blowing out candles. She looked happy. That helped. I worked out in the yard, read every book in the jail library that wasn't complete garbage, and counted down the days. 8 months isn't long in the grand scheme of things, but when you're living it, every day feels like a week. Finally, in October 2024, I walked out, completed my sentence, paid my debt to society, whatever you want to call it. The Harris County jail doors opened, and I stepped into autumn sunshine that felt better than anything I'd felt in months. Kelly and Na were waiting. Na ran over and hugged me so tight. Kelly hung back, but smiled. We didn't talk much on the drive to Kelly's place, just sat in comfortable silence while I looked at normal things I'd taken for granted. Trees, traffic, people walking dogs, the freedom to go where you want, when you want. That first night in my own apartment, sleeping in my own bed, eating real food, taking a shower alone, it was heaven. I knew rebuilding wouldn't be easy, but it was okay. I was out now. About 7 months after my release, I got a call from an unknown number. "Effie, it's me." Savannah's voice. I hadn't heard it in a year and a half. It sounded different, smaller, weaker. I should have hung up immediately. Instead, I asked, "How'd you get this number?" "Mom gave it to me. I need to talk to you in person, please." "Why?" "I need to apologize. I've been working with a therapist and I need to make amends. Please, Effie, 1 hour. That's all I'm asking." I thought about it. Part of me wanted to tell her to go to hell, but another part wanted to look her in the eye one more time, to see if she actually felt remorse or if this was just another manipulation. "Fine, 1 hour. That park near the old neighborhood. Tomorrow at 2. She agreed immediately. I could hear her voice light up. That should have been my first warning sign. The next day, I showed up at Memorial Park and found a bench away from the playground. I texted Hunter where I was, just in case. He responded, "Want backup?" I told him no, but appreciated it. Savannah walked in at 2 sharp. She looked thinner, tired. She was on parole. Curfew, travel limits, monthly check-ins. She spotted me and walked over slowly, sat down across from me. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, she said, "Thank you for meeting me, sister." I didn't respond. She fidgeted with her hands. "I've been in therapy trying to understand why I did what I did. My therapist says I have unresolved anger issues, and I project them onto people who trigger my insecurities." Therapy speak. Wonderful. "Savannah, get to the point. Why did you want to meet me?" She took a breath. "I need you to know I'm sorry. I'm truly, deeply sorry for what I did to Na. It was wrong. It was unforgivable. And I've spent every day since wishing I could take it back." I studied her face, looking for sincerity. looking for the catch, because with Savannah, there was always a catch. Okay, you apologized. Are we done? No, she leaned forward. I need to ask you something, a favor. There it was. I'm losing everything, she said. Evan's divorcing me. He's getting full custody of Caleb. I'm going to have nothing when parole ends. No husband, no son, no house, nothing. I could see where this was going, but I let her keep talking. Mom and Dad won't help me. They said I made my bed. But you're successful. You have money. I need help getting back on my feet. Just a small loan, maybe $20,000. Enough to get an apartment, buy a car, start over. The nerve of her almost impressed me. You pushed my daughter down the stairs, I said flatly. And now you want me to give you money? I said I was sorry. I screwed up, okay? Yeah, and for your apology, I should reward you? Sorry doesn't erase what you did, Savannah. Her expression shifted, the mask slipping. I've lost everything, Effie. Everything. Don't you think I've paid enough? No, I said coldly. I don't think you've paid nearly enough. Her eyes hardened. How could you be so cruel? How could you be what you are? I shot back. She calmed down again, but it was forced, brittle. Fine, then I need you to do something else. My counselor told me to ask you for a victim statement so I can try for an early discharge from parole. I need you to say you forgive me and that you believe I'm safe to be around, so they'll consider ending supervision early. I can't live like this, Effie. Curfew, check-ins, no freedom. I can't see my own son. Please, I'm begging you. And there it was, the truth, not remorse, just desperation. No. What? I said no. You don't get my help. You don't get my forgiveness. You don't get anything from me. But I apologized. And I don't forgive you. Her face transformed in an instant. You self-righteous witch. After everything our family's been through, you can't even help your own sister? You're not my sister anymore. You lost that title when you hurt my daughter. She stood up fast, knocking her chair back. People in the park were starting to stare. You know what? Screw you, Effie. Screw you and your precious daughter. I should have pushed her harder. There it was, the real Savannah. I stood up slowly, looked her dead in the eye, and said quietly, You should leave now before I throw away my freedom again and do something we'll both regret. For a moment, she looked truly scared, like she realized she'd just threatened my daughter to my face after I'd already done 8 months for defending her. She backed up a step. This isn't over, she said, but her voice shook. Yeah, it is, I said. Don't contact me again. Don't try to contact my daughter or Kelly. You're nothing to us now. Less than nothing. Her face crumpled. Then she started crying. Real tears this time. Please, Effie, I have nobody else. I need help. I'm desperate. We're done here. I walked past her toward the exit. She grabbed my arm. I'll tell everyone you threatened me. I'll get you sent back to jail. I pulled my arm free and leaned in close. I've got 12 witnesses in this park who just watched you threaten my daughter again. Plus, I recorded this whole conversation on my phone. Try me. I held up my phone where she could see the red recording light. Her face went white. She had nothing left. I walked out of that park and didn't look back. Didn't feel satisfaction or rage or even closure. Just relief. Relief that I'd never have to see her again. Relief that she'd proven twice she couldn't be trusted. Savannah served out her full parole term. No early discharge. No reduction. 18 more months under supervision. Evan got permanent sole custody with the restraining order staying in place. My parents tried to reconcile with her after parole ended, but she cut them off completely. Last I heard, she moved to another state and works some dead-end job. We have no contact. My parents and I are civil now, barely. We see each other at occasional family events and keep polite distance. They know they chose wrong that Thanksgiving. They've never said it outright, but guilt shows in how they treat Na now. Always buying gifts, always asking about her, always overcompensating. It's too little, too late. But Na has a bigger heart than I do. She accepts their attempts at redemption. Nate and I patched things up. He understood why I did what I did, even if he disagreed with how. Hunter's still my best friend. Still the person I'd call if I needed help burying a body. Kelly and I, we're better co-parents now than we ever were as spouses. We communicate, we work as a team, we protect our kid. And Na, she's thriving. 12 now, doing great in school, hanging with friends, being a normal teenager. The therapy helped her process everything. She doesn't flinch around stairs anymore, doesn't have nightmares. She just knows, really knows, that her mother will always protect her. And that's worth everything. So yeah, that's my story. The story of how I spent 8 months in jail for kicking my sister down the stairs because I chose to protect my daughter. Would I do it differently if I could go back? Heck no. I'd drag her higher and kick harder.